Today I am answering your questions on making L Reuteri and SIBO yogurt. So if you don't know what SIBO stands for, it stands for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, which is actually really common and causes all sorts of digestive issues. And so these yogurts I have been making on and off probably for a couple of years now, and I have done a number of videos showing how to make it, talking about them, about the results that I've had. And so if you want to go and check those out, you can do so. Now these, the SIBO yogurt and the L Reuteri yogurt have been introduced to the world, as far as I'm aware, by Dr. William Davis in his Super Gut book. And now this book is about fixing your gut up, particularly if you have SIBO. And those yogurts can really help. The bacteria that are used in the SIBO yogurt, or even on their own, as in the case of L Reuteri and L Reuteri, actually create what are called bacteriocins. So bacteriocins are a class of antimicrobial protein that suppresses harmful bacteria. And so this is why they can be really beneficial for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, inflammatory bowel diseases, IBS, and all sorts of other digestive issues. So the bacteria can be made into yogurts, as I said, on their own, fermented dairy. They're not really specifically yogurt, because yogurt is supposed to have specific bacteria in, but we can call it yogurt anyway. L Reuteri has amazing benefits for sleep, skin, hair, and mood. It boosts oxytocin, which is that kind of one of those kind of feel-good hormones that kind of rises in our brains when we're hugging people and getting all kind of friendly and stuff. And L Reuteri has been shown to have benefits for weight loss, including reducing visceral fat and belly fat, and it has also been shown to reduce histamine. So now I'm going to get onto the questions, and I'm also going to give a couple of tips at the end of this video for hopefully being more successful making L Reuteri yogurt, because it can be a little bit tricky. So the first question is, are you still making this yogurt? Right at this point in time? Yes, I am. I made it initially probably for about 6 months continuously, and consumed it, and it made a huge difference to my gut health. It wasn't the whole answer, but it was part of it, and definitely made a difference. And then since then, I kind of go on and off. I'm kind of unsure whether I should be consuming dairy. I don't know whether it's hindering my weight loss efforts, and that's part of the reason why I go on and off. But at the moment, I'm eating it again, and I'll probably stop again very soon. I'm actually making a mixture of L Reuteri and L Reuteri right now, and so that's what I'm consuming. So do these yogurts help with histamine? Now, L Reuteri is a high histamine bacteria, apparently. It can create histamine, but it also has the effect of lowering histamine in our bodies. So I'm not quite sure how that works, but apparently it's kind of does both. So overall, I believe that it helps with histamine. L Reuteri helps to lower histamine. So if you have histamine issues, L Reuteri is a safe one, and even having them combined is probably relatively safe. I had histamine issues, and I think overall eating the SIBO yogurt helped. The only thing is that I'm pretty sure that the Bacillus coagulans is a higher histamine and raises histamine in the body. So I've kind of stopped using that one completely. I don't know whether it was the particular strain that I was using. It seemed to have a histamine raising effect in me. But the other two bacteria, the Reuteri and the Reuteri, both definitely seem to have benefits for histamine. So the next question, me and my wife are making Reuteri yogurt, and it comes out almost smelling like spoiled milk or a very strong yeast or something. Is that normal? And then another question, I have just made my first batch of L Reuteri. It's separated and tastes like off milk. It also has a sour smell. I followed the directions. Is it safe to eat? What do you think has happened? So this is a really common question with L Reuteri. L Reuteri seems to be really finicky. You have to remember that these bacteria aren't traditionally used for fermenting milk, okay, or fermenting dairy. L Reuteri is used in cheese making, I believe, and so it can have a kind of a cheesy flavour, especially when it gets really wild in the fermenting, and that seems to be what happens with L Reuteri sometimes, is that it just kind of goes a little bit over the top, and it'll separate into a lot of curds and whey often. The way that Dr. Davis makes it and tells people to make it is to use a milk product called Half and Half, which you can get in the United States. I believe you can also get in the UK. But here in New Zealand, we can't get that. And I believe there's a lot of other countries where we can't get that either. And so this product that they're using in the US is an ultra pasteurized product that contains a higher level of cream and seems to work more consistently than just using normal whole milk. And so when I first started making these yogurts, I was using a mixture of cream and milk to try and mimic the Half and Half that they use, that Dr. Davis talks about, but didn't really make a whole lot of difference to the success of the L Reuteri. And I think it's the ultra pasteurization, and I don't know, because some of the products in the US are kind of more messed with or adulterated, I guess. And the ultra pasteurized half and half is probably not something that I would really want to consume, to be honest. But it does make a more consistent L Reuteri yogurt product. So if you're in America and you're using Half and Half and you're happy to use that, all good. For myself, I prefer to use, an organic whole milk, or I go and get raw milk from a local farm and then pasteurize it myself. So my L Reuteri yogurt tends to kind of be quite a lot of whey and not so much yogurt, to be honest. Now, ways of getting around that is I have sometimes blended it, so I'll blend some of the whey into the yogurt in the Thermomix or in the blender, so it just comes out as more liquid and creamy, or you can pour off the whey and just consume the yogurt. But it's really common when you're first making L Reuteri to have some failed batches. And I think what happens a lot of the time is the batch fails, it looks really funky like this. This was my first batch. And what happens is that people will throw that or discard it, and then they will make the whole thing from scratch, and then it does it again. My advice to people is always to use some of the prior batch, some whey from the prior batch, reduce your inulin, cut that by half so that it's not quite so active, and then see how your next batch goes. And what I personally have found is that over a little bit of time, if I keep using some of the prior batch, it gradually, it's like it gets used to the milk a bit more and it becomes a little bit more successful. It's still not perfect. I don't think I've ever had an L Reuteri batch that's been perfect. It always contains a lot of whey, but it does contain yogurt and not just all this kind of messy kind of stuff that doesn't even look like yogurt. So on to the next question. Could you please tell me a little bit more about the end process? Do you put the yogurt into the fridge directly from the maker after 36 hours? And do you keep it in the fridge in the jar it was made in, or do you put it in several smaller glass jars? So I put it straight into the fridge in the container or the jars that it was made in, and I put it straight into the fridge after the 36 hours. Next question. Hi Sue, I'm so confused about temps. Thank you. Best temperature for each of the Reuteri, Gassery and coagulants separately. Best temperature for all three together. I see you use 38 degrees Celsius, but Lavelli says 36 and 37, so I'm confused. Best temp for Reuteri and Gassery only together. So the three bacteria that are used in the SIBO yogurt like different temperatures. One of them likes it a bit hotter. I think it might be Bacillus coagulans, likes it a bit hotter. The other two like it a little bit cooler. I tend to ferment my yogurts all on a 37 or 38, and it works. And so, I remember looking at the temperatures originally and I thought, that's all just too confusing. These bacteria like our body temperature, so that's pretty much where I stick. The next question, my yogurt maker only heats to 33 degrees Celsius. Will this be okay? Probably not. 33 is probably going to be too cool. These bacteria like it between around 37 and 38 degrees. So if you've got a yogurt maker that only goes to 33, you're probably going to have to invest in another one. If you're going to invest in another one, I'd suggest buying a Lavelli because it does the 36 hours. It's a fantastic machine. I have a link to their yogurt makers underneath my video, so you can go and check those out. Next question. Hi Sue, do you think it's okay to add Reuteri capsules to my kefir grains, or is it overkill with having the yogurt as well? I would not add Reuteri to the kefir grains. It's probably either going to kill your kefir or your kefir will kill it, one of the two, because it's just going to, one lot of bacteria are going to crowd out the other and kill the other, because they're not really meant to go together. So I would make my kefir separately, which is what I do, and make the yogurt separately. And sometimes I make both, and sometimes I make just one, and sometimes I make none. Okay, next question. My one question is, how long can I freeze the starter ice cubes for without compromising the bacteria? Your bacteria will stay good in the freezer for at least 12 months. 12 months is pretty safe as far as I'm aware for kefir grains and for these bacteria. You may get longer out of them. I haven't actually tried that myself, but 12 months is a pretty safe bet. How many times can you make restarters from the same batch before you lose the bacterial strength and have to start a new batch with the capsules again? So as far as I'm aware, and my own experience, I just keep using some of my prior batch, and I keep whey in the freezer, and I just keep reusing that. However, if you're concerned about that, if you get like a bit of contamination in there, that may mess it up. If your yogurt doesn't seem like it's working the way that it should be or the way that it usually does, then I would suggest either starting again or just adding some of the bacteria from the capsules or the tablets to your batch again. So I mean, you could use some of your original starter, but add another capsule or two or crushed pill to the batch. So those strains of yogurt, if you want to keep some of the capsules and some of the tablets on hand for that, or you need to buy some more, I have links to those specific strains underneath this video if you want to go and grab some more of those. It's also really important to use the correct strains of these bacteria, because, you know, like L Reuteri, there's multiple different strains, but there's only certain strains that have been tested, and Dr. Davis recommends only specific strains. And so that's what I've got linked to below the video. Next question. After months of perfect tart yogurt, I've just had 2 failures in a row, both from 2 different brand new starters, and both hideously separated with an unpleasant taste. They also bubbled way over the top of the containers. I'm thinking I've got a stray bug in the machine. Any thoughts on how to sterilize the machine itself without damaging it? So my answer to this is either just use boiling water, which is what I use to sterilize everything that I'm making my yogurt with, or alternatively you could use food grade hydrogen peroxide or colloidal silver. The only thing, if you're going to use those, you want to use it in your yogurt maker, then make sure it's completely dry before you actually make your yogurt, because otherwise the hydrogen peroxide or the colloidal silver may kill your bacteria that you want for your yogurt, because you've got to remember they are antibacterial, and that's why we're using them. So make sure that your container is completely dry if you do choose to use those. Hi Sue, can I use unpasteurized milk or raw milk? Thanks. So I have used both pasteurized milk and raw milk for my yogurt, but I pasteurize the raw milk myself. I have had people comment on my videos that have made these yogurts using raw milk without heating it. I think it comes out more runny, and I'm not sure that it would actually have the numbers of bacteria that we want, because the raw milk is going to contain other lactobacillus species, and they may crowd out the L Reuteri or the L Reuteri, whichever you're making. And so it may be kind of counterproductive, and I pasteurize my milk. I haven't tried making it with raw milk. I do make kefir with raw milk, but not the yogurt. Okay, so 80 to 90 degrees Celsius sounds way too hot and would kill the Reuteri. That's the temperature that I use to pasteurize my milk, and I hold it there for about 15 minutes at 82 degrees or higher. Then I allow the milk to cool to 37 degrees before I add it to my starter. If you add it to the starter too hot, it will kill it. So make sure you cool your milk down to 37 degrees before adding it to your inulin and your starter. Okay, so g'day. To make 2 litres, did you double both the starter and the inulin? I enjoy your content very much. Blessings. Yes, double the inulin and double the starter. So I make 2 litres at a time, and so I use 4 tablespoons of inulin and 4 tablespoons of my starter, approximately. It's not rocket science. You can add a little bit more and it'll be fine. Okay, so I have already spoken about freezing the starter away for future batches. I had a question about that earlier. And so, yeah, so that's what I do is I will take some of the whey if possible, or some yogurt, but usually the whey, because I mean that's kind of a bit of a waste product. I don't like to consume too much of the whey because it spikes your insulin a bit. So I will freeze the whey I freeze it in like muffin trays and pop it in the freezer, and then I put them into plastic bags once they're frozen and put a date on them. And so I will use one of those muffin trays as a starter to make a new batch of yogurt. If I haven't made any yogurt for a while and I go back to making it, that's what I use as one of those muffin trays to 2 litres. So I just wanted to ask if all cultures can be used in one batch of yogurt, or do you have to make them all separately initially? No, put them all together. So if you're making SIBO yogurt, just put all the cultures into the first batch of yogurt. If you're making, a yogurt with L Reuteri and L Reuteri, put both of those cultures or, bacteria. If you're using the capsules and the pills crushed up, add those to your first batch at the same time. I have just recently started making L Reuteri yogurt, about 6 batches so far. Every batch I've made tends to have about 50% whey and 50% runny yogurt. Yeah, that's really common, and that's what I was saying before. If you can use half and half, that tends to reduce that kind of whey and separation a bit, I believe. But if you're using just standard whole milk or a mixture of milk and cream, then you're probably going to get a lot of whey and not so much yogurt with the L Reuteri. All right, do you have to use raw milk and cream? Now, in my video, I used raw milk and cream because that was what I had on hand. But no, you don't have to use those. You don't have to add any cream to it. You can if you want. Or you can use pasteurized milk. As I said, I pasteurize my raw milk to get the bacteria, remove the bacteria from it before I make my yogurt. And so that's the way that I choose to do it. And that's the way that I found has worked for me. And this question, why is it so hard to get simple, direct instructions without so much waffle? Because that's the way I talk. And if you don't like my waffle, go watch someone else's video. All right, so here's a few tips for the L Reuteri. As I said, it can take time in multiple batches to get it to work okay. And, so in my case, I found it was a case of just reusing some of the next batch and then blending some of the whey into the yogurt so there wasn't so much waste, because it seemed like a lot of waste to be tipping half of the product basically down the sink, because that's what I was finding. What I find now is I was making L Reuteri for a little bit just a few weeks ago, and now I'm making a combo of L Reuteri and L Reuteri together, because both of those bacteria have amazing benefits. I want the benefits of both of them. And when you combine them together, there's less whey. So you get a more successful yogurt when you combine these two together. So that would be one of my biggest tips, is if you want the benefits of L Reuteri, combine it with L Reuteri. I mean, you've got no way of knowing how much of each bacteria is in there, but I kind of figure it's going to be a mixture of both. And if you're unsure, you can always add a bit of L Reuteri tablet to your yogurt every now and then. Every few batches you could add a tablet, and that's going to help to bump those numbers up. Or you can add a tablet of each, a tablet of L Reuteri and a capsule of L Reuteri, just to bump the numbers up, just so that you know that you kind of got a bit more of an even balance, because over time one of them may wipe out the other one. It's hard to say. I think you would know if it was the L Reuteri, it was wiping out the L Reuteri, because you're going to end up with loads of whey again. But the other way around, you possibly won't know. So, keep some tablets and capsules on hand and just add a little bit every now and then if you want to do that. The inulin, I have found personally that the Jerusalem artichoke inulin works better than the chicory inulin. They just had a better texture and mixed in better. I don't know whether it was the brands that I was using, but I tend to stick with the Jerusalem artichoke inulin now. And so yeah, that's what I found best. But as I said, it may have just been the brand. And of course, the yogurt maker that I use is the Lavelli yogurt maker. I love the yogurt. That yogurt maker works brilliantly. I bought the one that has a 2-litre jar that I use. And then if that's in the fridge with yogurt in it, I will use 4 of these gherkin jars. So these are, I have been asked in the past how big they are. They're 670 gram jars. So they're kind of a short, squat jar. I'll put a picture up here so that you can see. And 4 of these jars fit in my yogurt maker. And so when I fill those up, it's actually closer to 3 litres of yogurt that I'm making at one time with those 4 jars. And they work perfectly. So that's the questions that I have pulled from under my videos today about making SIBO yogurt and L Reuteri yogurt. I hope that that was helpful. If you have any other questions, pop those below and I will probably eventually make another video answering some of those because people have so many questions with regards to this, and it is can be a little bit complicated and can be a little bit frustrating trying to get the hang of making these yogurts, but once you do, you'll be away. So that's it for today. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe. Go and find me on Substack, suewoolage.substack.com. I'm putting videos and I'm going to be writing more articles on there about different things, and there will be some things that go on there that don't go onto my YouTube channel, so you might find something of interest there eventually. That's it for today. Make sure to like and share. I thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to you again another day. Bye for now.